Hey, what's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to another episode of Q Points podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's happening, good people?
So happy to be back in the almost talking like one of the old school DJs. So glad to be back in the air seats with you this evening.
I've never heard air
jams,
seat before. That's awesome.
Rocking the jams that make you slam. But anyway, we are here with another dope episode. Y'all are going to really enjoy this conversation because J. Ray and I have been wanting to discuss this gentleman for a minute now. Mm-hmm. But before we do any of that, J. Ray, please let the listener know how they can keep in contact with us and also put their friends on to Q Points.
Absolutely. So you can do all the things. So the easiest way to put your friends on is by sharing the show. You are here watching the show or you are listening to the show, and you can absolutely share it with your friends. If they love music and conversations about music as much as you do and we do, you should share Q Points with them. So go ahead and make sure that you share the show. If it's your first time here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, whether you are joining from the podcast or you are joining from a video platform like YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe there. You can also go one step further. So if you're like, oh, I really want to support those guys, Q Points, I want them to keep doing what they are doing, go to our website, qpoints.com, click the subscribe button, and you can become a Q Points insider and you can get all of the Q Points history. This is show 97. So that means there are 96 other shows that you can watch about an entire variety of topics, and you get access to all of that by becoming an insider, as well as access to some of our other premium content. You can also go ahead and buy some stuff from our store. If you visit store.qpoints.com, you can buy yourself some gear. We're going to be working on some new summer gear so that y'all can get fresh for the summer as you're out there being the music fans that you are. So that's all the things. We're going to send some shout outs. Kipper Jones is in the chat. We see Carlton is in the chat. So just a quick rundown for what we're going to discuss tonight. So DJ and Sir Daniel are, of course, going to do our regular hot topics of the week. It's a little bit of mess in there, so we're going to get into some of that. And then, just a little bit. And then after that, we are going to have our fun conversation about the great Teddy Riley. So stick around for the whole show because we're going to get to Teddy in a little bit. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, y'all.
Absolutely. Love hearing you rhyme just now, by the way. I love the fact that, and I'm very proud of us. You said that there are 96 shows that people can go back and listen to, and you can listen to our growth. You can listen to, our growth and how we've evolved over the past couple of years as a show. And it makes me think of, people who have given us a chance. I think of in the past of people who have given me a chance before. And one such person was Maurice Jamal. If you don't recognize the name, immediately. Maurice Jamal is was responsible for producing and directing two groundbreaking movies,
Hmm.
Ski Trip, and was it the what was the other
Dirty
one called?
Laundry.
Dirty Laundry.
Yep.
Groundbreaking movies that told different stories that hadn't been told before from a black lens.
Hmm.
And Maurice had gotten to a point where he was going trying to leverage the power that he was gaining in in Hollywood and the visibility he was gaining in Hollywood to start a network. And this was before before everything really took off as far as podcasting and YouTube being monetizing YouTube. He wanted to create a network, a social media network, and it was called Glow TV. And part of the lineup that he wanted to be a part of Glow TV was Better Days Radio, which was started by Drama Dupree and myself, um, way back in the days, back in the early 2000s. And yeah, we got to meet him. We got to be a part of this great launch party that he had right here in Atlanta. We got to meet a lot of our favorite YouTubers and friends, like the Scorpion Show. What's the Tea? I mean, that was when
Hmm.
it's so funny how just this week in the Twitter sphere, people were talking about what was your favorite music from the blog era. And the blog era is from that area between like 2006 to like 2010,
Hmm.
11. And we were smack dab in that era,
Wow.
and getting to know people, just getting our feet out there, getting, our name known, and just really being at the forefront of this movement. Unfortunately, things didn't pan out, but the fact that he reached back, um, I can't remember if I ever had him on Love and Relationships on V103 when I was working at the radio station. But anyway, yeah, just a solid guy. Again, made such a heavy impact on the industry, for the community, and just, it's very sad that he's passed away at such a young age.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to hold space for him, because this has been an up and down week for a lot of us. We've all lost
Yeah.
friends and people that we care deeply about this week. And yeah, just wanted to hold space for Maurice Jamal and
Yeah.
to thank him for his contribution to the world.
Yeah. Maurice created those both of those films. It's interesting. I saw Dirty Laundry before Ski Trip, and Ski Trip actually came out first. And I did not realize that he was also acting in those films, right? He was so
Mm-hmm.
into the character that I did not realize that the person who wrote and directed those films was starring in the films too, because he
Yep.
was really immersed in the characters that he was playing. And both absolutely groundbreaking films. If you haven't seen them, go check them out. But
If you
definitely
can find them.
if you can find them, right?
Yeah.
Because like Carlton mentioned, he still has his Dirty Laundry DVD. So y'all need to run over to the eBay right now and go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and see if you could get your copies of the Ski Trip and Dirty Laundry. But rest in power to Mr. Maurice Jamal, who really gave us, to your point, Sir Daniel, uh the foundation for what this all could be. The idea
Mm-hmm.
that in the late 2000s he's thinking of putting a podcasting platform on his network, right? That's
Yeah,
next level. That's normal
definitely.
now, but that wasn't then.
It really wasn't. He had a lot of foresight, and we also have to think about it. He ushered in an era. He opened the door for like your Patrick Ians,
Yep.
and also, if you really want to keep it 100, keep it a stack. He opened the doors for people like what's his name
Lee
that does
Daniels.
Poe, Lee Daniels, but also for what is his name that does Pose, that did
Oh.
Pose.
Oh, the white man.
Yes, him.
Yes.
Because Patrick Ewing made a point that they were all like around the same era. They were all
Mm-hmm.
starting off at the same level, but look where he is now. And
Mm.
and that's the thing about Hollywood. But if it hadn't been for Maurice at kicking Ryan Murphy, thank
Ryan
you,
Murphy.
Kipper.
Yep.
Um, for not him opening those doors, then we probably would have never got Noah's Ark and all
Yep.
those other things that came after that. So shout out to Maurice Jamal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while we are talking about, I just want to make this really quick.
Yeah.
And I thank you, J Ray, for giving me the space to do this. So I'm sure everybody has heard the story about the man on the plane, the Southwest Airlines flight where the man on the plane had a very visceral reaction to a baby crying, and so much to the point where the plane had to emergency land in Fort Lauderdale, and everybody had to deplane, and he was met by security. It didn't look like he got arrested or anything, but of course somebody took video and the video went viral. He was highly upset. He was severely agitated because this baby was crying, and the baby was crying nonstop. You can still hear the baby crying in the background. Um, the flight attendants, the flight attendants were, to their credit, doing what they do. You know, flight attendants have a lot to deal with. They're trying to manage. They're trying to manage the passengers,
Mm-hmm.
luggage, the accoutrement for the passengers, like all the stuff they got to serve, and as well as taking care of the pilots and
Mm-hmm.
maintaining an orderly aircraft. So my hats off to them as well. Yes, the gentleman looked, out on the outside looking in. The gentleman looks completely unraveled. He sounded crazy. He just looked completely unraveled, and with him yelling, yes, it looked wild, right? And I see a lot of people, have feelings about him and
Mm-hmm.
energy about him. What I noticed is that those flight attendants, giving them all the credit that they deserve, the flight attendants and everybody else missed the mark by just acknowledging what this man was going through.
Mm-hmm.
They missed the mark by acknowledging that all of us don't handle certain things well. All of us have very different reactions. We don't know what that gentleman had gone through. We don't know where he was on his way to. We don't know where he was coming from. We don't know
Mm.
any of that, right? And so it's not saying that it's anybody's job to manage his emotions or to manage what he had been through. I I just harken back to what I always say about giving people grace and
Grace and
space.
space.
If I just believe that if somebody had taken the time to just acknowledge what he was going through, and not to dismiss him, because one of the flight attendants both of them actually became very dismissive, and
Mm-hmm.
they started matching his energy, and
Right.
all that does is just escalates everything.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just going to get worse. So instead of taking some time, acknowledging acknowledging his emotions and whatnot, and just taking that time to see him as a human being and empathize with
Mm-hmm.
him, they missed a golden opportunity to diffuse that situation.
Yeah.
And I just think it's sad. I really do think that a lot of us, in our walks of life, there are instances where we are met with things like that all the time. I was at a bakery today, and I was online, and it's a West Indian bakery. So an elderly West Indian man came in, completely got in front of me, didn't even acknowledge that I was there. But
He had an agenda.
he had an agenda. He knew the woman behind the counter. They were talking. Next thing you know, he got his stuff and he was out the door before me. Now I could have raised 10 days worth of Sam Hill about that, but that wouldn't have gotten me anywhere. I don't know what He could have been in there before me. I don't know. But I was just like, you know what? I let that go because it wasn't like I was in a hurry, etc. But I just said to that to say, sometimes if we just take a beat,
Mm.
if we just take a beat, we really could avoid certain situations.
Yes.
And God knows, I I see the people on in airports with children. My hat's off to you because it couldn't be me.
Right.
It could not be me.
It's
Better you than me.
yeah. Yeah.
Me and children, traveling with children. My hat's off to y'all. And yeah,
Yeah.
parents. Yeah,
Yeah. I thank you for that. I agree with Kipper. That was a really great reminder. And for folks listening, and definitely for me as well, just a reminder to just take a second. And you are
that's all it
absolutely
takes.
right. Like, what could it have done to be like completely understand this is a small enclosed space? Unfortunately, we can't stop the baby from crying, but maybe we can move your seat. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe we can figure something out to help you.
Yeah,
Just given that moment to acknowledge the humanity and the experience. Thank you for that, Sir Daniel. And
yeah,
and this was a black man too, right? So giving us an opportunity that could have gone a long way
a long way.
to not make the situation what it became. So yeah, you are absolutely right. And our thing for 2023 is absolutely grace and space.
Grace in space.
Cause it's rough in these streets, folks.
It's hard in these streets and hard in these airplanes.
Yes. But not
It's
for the Black Music Honors honorees, because it's about to go down in Atlanta.
it's about it's about to go down. It's about to be first class. Everything. Um. Yes, the Black Music Honors is going down May 19th, right
Mm-hmm.
here in my backyard of Atlanta. They are honoring Evelyn Champagne King, which
Mm-hmm.
is, you know what? I think it's criminal how we don't speak her name. It is criminal how we do not
Yep.
speak that woman's name, and she has given us jam after
After
jam after jam.
bops for days. Okay.
Jeffrey Osborne. If
Woo,
you telling me that you don't woo
woo,
woo woo,
woo.
you a liar. You are absolute liar if you don't woo 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 to this day. And of course, his work with LTD and man,
Yes.
it's so funny. I found the 12-inch of Back in Love Again, and I
Jam.
absolutely that's a jam, funky ass jam. Who else are they honoring? They're honoring
SWV,
SWV, which we,
Missy Elliott.
and Missy Elliott. I mean, SWV and Missy Elliott. You don't even, we're two stands over here for
Yes.
SWV and Missy Elliott. So there really isn't anything that we, more that we can say about how we feel about SWV and Missy Elliott. So it's definitely a show to check out when it airs. I
Mhm.
believe they're recording on May 19th, and
Okay.
then it'll probably air after that. But I love the fact that we have another show that is taking the time to honor Black music, especially because I'm pretty certain it's going to come out for June because June is Black
Black
Music
Music
Month.
Month. Yep.
So yeah, we need more platforms, more opportunities to say we love you to people that have given us so many memories and so many songs to the soundtracks of our lives. Um, in that same vein, MC Light and
Hmm.
the Kennedy Center
Uh-huh.
are doing another ladies' night, a hip hop night. So this is like an ongoing thing now, and I'm super excited about that and proud of that. In 50 years of hip hop is definitely getting its due. The Kennedy Center is having a hip hop series. Come on, that's huge.
Yeah, I'm happy that because I didn't realize this until you sent me the text. I'm so
Hmm.
glad they are continuing that and that MC Light because I believe it was MC Light again doing it last year. Maybe
Yes.
is
Hmm.
she might be the artist in residence again this year.
She is, and
Okay,
she's bringing along like Bahamadia, which I think is amazing. Bahamadia, you have to go in order to see Bahamadia perform. You have to go overseas to like Amsterdam.
absolutely.
So we might need to take a trip up there
Yeah, I'm looking here in DC to see
to
what's
see
happening June
DC
4th.
because
Um
Bahamadia,
Rhapsody. This is a great
yeah,
show. Oh my god.
Bahamadia does not perform in the United States for nothing. Or I take that back. Y'all
Don't be
promoters
booking.
aren't putting her on the bill like you should because you don't understand what kind of talent
Mm-hmm.
Bahamadia wields. Bahamadia is one of the illest to ever hold a mic. And like I said, you have to have a passport to see her perform. So being that she's in DC, it'll definitely be in our interest to go ahead and cop some tickets and get up there to DC for this because, yeah, I
Yeah.
need to be a part of that. I need to be a part of that because, yeah, it's going to be seats, it's
Mm-hmm.
indoors, it's air conditioned. Um, there's no risk of me getting Coachella flu. Have you heard about this?
No, there's a Coachella flu now.
There is a Coachella flu, apparently because of the conditions and the dry desert. It is now people are coming down with severe flu-like conditions that are. It's like a masterpiece of germs, basically. I mean,
Mm.
think about it. You get all those because those kids aren't the cleanest. Let's just be honest. And then you got that dry desert air that the closest body of water is losing all of its is depleting. Actually, it's drying up. So
Mm.
there's a lot of dry air, and that atmosphere is causing people to develop um these conditions, this and get this flu. So shout out to y'all. One person that you don't have to worry about seeing there is Frank Ocean. And
He said, "Bye, y'all."
he said, "But listen, I'm not gonna say I told you so, but we told you so. We thought if you run it back last week's show and however comma, we said Frank is not gonna make it until to the next week, and he really does not. He does not need to make it to the. I think again, we just need to let go of the idea
You
of
said
Frank
that
Ocean being the performer that the generation that he came up with wants him to be.
because he's not.
It's just not happening. It's just
It's
not
not
happening
happening.
for Frankie.
I the most hilarious thing. I'm sorry, no shade. I work with musicians on a daily basis.
Say it,
You,
say it, say it.
I have never heard that a person with a sprained ankle can't sing. I've never heard of a person with a sprained ankle can't sing. Frank Ocean is a singer. They
Allegedly.
listen. Listen, you can put him in a Professor X chair and he can wheel his ass around the stage and sing.
J Ray, you know who I have heard of? I've heard of Michael Jackson, and I've heard of Michael Jackson with a broken leg, sitting on what was it? The one of
A
these award,
golden
I believe
chair.
the BET Awards
Yeah.
show on a throne, doing 8 counts from the chair, whipping his hair back and forth, and doing kicks from the chair, singing his face off while the dancers did their whole routines around him, and he still killed. That is I know we sound like broken records, but that's the difference between the talent that was cut from that cloth from yesteryears to the talent that we have now. Good on him. I hope he heals well. I hope he makes some awesome music for people to vibe to, because that's what the kids are about, is vibes. So I hope he continues to do that and go with God.
I look at Kipper, Prince on a cane. I just listen.
In a 6-inch heel at that. Come on.
Say, listen, there is I don't know, y'all. Like people pay they good money to see someone who rarely perform. I am of the mind, and I'm really, you know what, I'm really sensitive to things, right? But I am of the
Yes.
mind that if I'm the manager, I'm gonna be like, baby, we gotta wheel your ass out there. Like these people paid they good money to
Mm-hmm.
travel and get the damn Coachella flu to see you do Novocaine. We gotta get you on stage.
Do you need some Novocaine? Do you
Right?
need to
Do
in
you
your
need
knee,
some? You know what? That may have been it. Nobody suggested that we put some Novocaine on the
in his
leg.
ankle, on his ankle? But oh, and speaking of paying good money, do you know they actually have a substitute for him? Did you hear who the substitute
Who's the
is?
substitute?
Blink 182.
They done pulled out Blink 182 to replace the
Blink
people who
182.
paid to see Frank Ocean didn't come to see Blink 182.
That was a choice. And listen,
Like that was a choice.
I dig Blink 182, but
We
just like you said, J Ray, you and I, we would groove right along with
yeah.
it. We fall in. But that particular crowd that paid money for that, I don't know if they're the Blink 182 crowd, but hey, better you than me.
One other
Better you
thing
than
I
me.
wanted to mention, this is also Coachella
Mm.
related. Um, there's an artist who I literally didn't know anything about until I think it was Questlove that posted. This is their first performance ever. You sent this to me, Jai
Yes.
Paul. So I literally had to look this person up and like, oh, he was like internet famous in like the early 2010s, and the people really like him, but has never, ever, ever performed live. And Coachella was like, we're totally booking him. And then they did. And then I'm looking at this performance like, but did he rehearse? Like, did he rehearse? Has he seen other concerts? That was my question as I was watching. Like, has he seen concerts before and know kind of what to do? Apparently not.
So this one thing that this generation does not lack, and that's gumption. That is just straight up gall. They do not lack that at all. They've got the gumption, they've got the cojones to do whatever it is that they want to. But yes, Questlove was the one that reposted that, and he posed a great question. He was like, "Where are the mentors? Where are the people that said maybe we take you to a club first? Maybe we take you to a coffee shop, a coffee house first to work some things out to build your chops up. No, you go straight to Coachella. And what does that do for you as an artist? It's kind of like if you have a child and you give them like those kids on My Super Sweet 16
Mm-hmm.
that have never had to work for anything, but as soon as they turn 16, they get a Benz wagon. So they've never had to work for anything. They don't have anything to work towards. They don't have anything to look forward to. So it kind of what is it that skews your outlook on life, and I think it skews your outlook on life and the way you think things should be, and
Yes.
then it changes your perception of what you think you deserve and what you should be, deserving of. And so I think that was kind of weird. And Questlove was like, where are the mentors? Where are the gatekeepers? Like, this is where gatekeeping comes in handy,
Exactly.
because I think we may have done a disservice to this young man by setting him up like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I have questions about just that decision making process because I'm forever, whenever I'm scheduling something, even if it's just like a panel, I'm like, well, are they good on the mic? Do we have
Mm,
evidence of them being able to get on stage and do that which they say they're supposed to do? And there's no evidence of this person having done that because they've never done it before. I would be like, I don't know that we booking him for this. There are other artists. Baby, was Chloe at the Coachella? Was Normani at the Coachella? There are other artists who have been chomping at the bit who could have worn that segment out. But shout out to J Paul, I guess is the way his name is pronounced. And
mm.
um
Good
yeah,
on you.
good on
Good
him.
on you. Hopefully, hopefully we. Well, listen. If we never hear from him again, he can always say that I performed at Coachella.
Just.
Just exactly. And I and back to Frank really quickly, I do think that we did see in that Grammy performance years ago, we did see that he needed a lot of work, and
Yeah.
he really
Oh,
could have
yes.
used someone like a Kipper Jones in his
Hmm.
side to help him with not just the singing techniques and the vocal warm-ups and things of that nature, but how to translate on stage, how to emote, how to do the things, be popping on stage, look at people, give
Right.
them some emotions and whatnot. So yeah, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
be safe out there, y'all. Hopefully you don't come back. The only thing you get from Coachella is a sunburn. Just don't bring back no flu with you
Don't bring back no Coachella flu. No one wants that. No
at
one
all.
wants that. So, Sir Daniel, I think it's time.
It is time. I just want to really quickly give a shout out to the memory of Keith Elam, better known as Guru,
Oh, gifted
gifted,
unlimited
limited, rhymes
rhymes
universal.
universal. Ah.
Somebody posted a clip of him and Dia Davenport of that video, Trust Me. And I
Mm-hmm.
forgot how much I love that song. That song came out the year I graduated from high school, 1993. Do your maths.
30 years ago. Oh my God.
And that's an amazing body of work. I just remember Guru from the time since I was in 8th grade. I remember him and Gangstar, and his impact is truly felt on hip hop. He gave us DJ Premier, who we are still benefiting from his
Yeah.
talents. And yeah, just shout out to the memory of Guru and his contributions to hip hop. But yes, um, speaking of impact, speaking of geniuses, of prodigies, a Harlem prodigy. We're
Yes.
talking about the one and only Teddy Riley this evening, and we said this year we wanted to talk about two things. We wanted to talk about the year 1988.
Mm-hmm.
And being that it's hip hop's 50th anniversary, we definitely had to incorporate something regarding hip hop in all of our shows.
Mm-hmm.
And Teddy Riley
Mm-hmm.
checks off all the boxes.
Absolutely. Um, it's crazy because I didn't realize until um until the late 80s Teddy's impact on hip hop, right? Because I was of course familiar with the show. I was of course familiar with How You Like Me Now and Wild Wild West, but I did not remember the producers. I don't know that I was really into line. I was super young. So I don't know that I was really reading liner notes like that, like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then when the late 80s came and then I was going back and really getting into that stuff and realizing like, yo, the dude that did the Keith Sweat album also did this stuff, which I remember was like mind blowing because rap in my mind they were totally separate. Hip
Yes.
hop and R&B were separate things and these people didn't cross over. And then realizing that there was like one person that had produced both things was mind blowing. So Teddy Riley is definitely hip hop, and we actually came to know him through hip hop initially.
Absolutely. So the show by Dougie Fresh and
Mm-hmm.
Slick Rick is a bona fide hip hop classic. Um, it's featured in several movies, including New Jack Swing. I'll never forget that scene,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody is like going wild in the club to the show by Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh. The show spawned Answer Records,
Yep.
including the show Stopper
Stopper, Salt and
by
Pepper.
Salt and Pepper, and so we got them out of that creation. And yes, to your point, Kumo D and Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh were the main rap artists that he started working with. But then, of course, he was also adopted by Heavy D,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw because he was on Jive, because he was signed to Jive RCA, cool. Teddy Riley had access to rap artists like the Wee Papa Girls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Wee Papa Girl rappers was a rap group out of London, England, and they have for them to on their debut album, and we don't really even know who they are stateside, to have Teddy Riley like giving them some serious tracks on their album is a major. As a matter
Yeah.
of fact, if you have an opportunity to listen to their song Faith, which is a take on George Michael's Faith, you can the Teddy Riley sound is there. His the vocoder voice, you can hear him
Mm-hmm.
singing in the background. All of that is there. But yes, he is solidified at, to me, in my opinion, as a hip hop giant. Because when we talk about super producers, because
Mm-hmm.
we're in the age of talking about hip hop super producers, Teddy Riley, I believe, is at the forefront of that
Mm-hmm.
list of super producers. Of course, we had Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. We have LA and Babyface.
Yeah.
Teddy Riley, right there, standing shoulder to shoulder with them.
Mm. And he was also squarely of our generation, even though he's older than us, obviously, but he made the music that shaped our childhood, and this is why talking about this period is so important. Um, the sound of R&B, you got the beginning of it in the early 80s. Certainly moving into 86 with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Janet Jackson's Control. Um, but Teddy was right there, like shaping the sound of the time. And everything that we um listened to kind of was derived from these innovations that Teddy and these other producers were doing. And that's really important. That's like really, really important. Oh, and Leon Silvers the third absolutely is in that lineage too of super producer.
For sure. Um, let's see, you were saying, when I think about Teddy, I'm also thinking about people that came up around the same time with him. So one person that we don't ever talk about, but was in the same camp, was Kyle West.
Oh
Because if we look
yeah,
at
uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
early Guy records, the
Mm-hmm.
early Albie Shore records, the girls, that whole
Uptown.
Uptown MCA family, Kyle West was is a part of that,
Yeah.
and that creating or molding of that sound, of the Uptown sound that we were able to get, because Uptown sound was definitely, there were, okay, so your typical hip hop producers would use, your samples and your
Mm-hmm.
breakbeat records,
Mm-hmm.
and it would have that kind of grittiness to it, and people were using the
Probably
MPC
in the 808.
and the 808s, doing making their beats that way. But Teddy Riley brought a added a kind of sheen to it. He kind of he shellacked his
She
beats, if you understand.
selected.
If you know what I'm saying. His beats were a little cleaner, a little classier, but you saw that MCs could write his beats, but at the same time, you could have a Whitney Houston singing over those beats at the same time.
Yo, so you know what's interesting about us talking about this sheen and this shellac? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was checking out, I didn't get a chance to finish it in preparation for this show because it was just a nutty week, but I was checking out the Red Bull Academy and Teddy was talking about, kind of the evolution of New Jack Swing. And he talked, he recorded those songs on a 12 track Akai recorder, a 12 track. I'm like, wow, because those songs in my mind as a person who spent time in the studio seem so big, but he was like,
Mm-hmm.
nah, I just kind of also them vocals, all of them, all of the instrumentation, 12 track. Secondly, he indicated that specifically for the Guy record, he was like, we literally recorded those vocals in the bathroom. We hung stuff all over the bathroom so that it could deaden the sound, but that's where we did it. So it the idea of creating this tight, shined up, groove is like, baby, the combination of a 12 track in a bathroom created these sounds.
Like, and that's not the first time we've heard that about like really huge records being recorded in a bathroom.
Mhm.
Push It was recorded in a bathroom. You
Wow.
know, and that speaks to the innovation of a generation. Like, hey, nobody was opening up their studios to them.
Mm-mm.
And so if the innovation came and was like, look, so I heard that what you need to do is to put some egg crates on the wall so we can muffle the sound, deaden it. So we're gonna do that in here in the bathroom. It's small enough. There's a little bit of acoustics, so we're gonna make
Yep.
this work. We're gonna do what it do.
Man.
And so, go ahead.
No, I wanted to big up. So I think my first vision personally of like Teddy Riley as a producer
Uh-huh.
was Keith Sweat's Make It Last Forever album, which
Yes.
is one of the best albums of its time. So 1987 was kind of a magical time period. Like Ellie and Babyface and Terry and Jimmy, I'm sorry, Ellie and Babyface, Teddy, Jimmy and Terry were doing all of this interesting stuff. And and Keith Sweat's Make It Last Forever album was for me the complete package. It was a no skips record, even though some of those songs when I look back on them now are kind of cringy, but what songs aren't cringy from back then? But it was a no skips album, and so much of the no skips had to definitely do with the way that Teddy produced the record and the songs itself. That joint right there just goes. You put on that record and you're gonna go. You know what I'm saying?
You are, and I'm sorry if you were watching just now. I was looking over my shoulder. I was trying to pull that guy record because one of the first things, I don't know if it was the first time you ever heard a song that two songs that sounded exactly the same. But remember the If I'm Not Your Lover
Yes.
record by Al B. Shore
Mm-hmm.
and the what is the name of that record on the Guy album
On the
that
first
sound
Guy
just
album,
alike? Yes.
which song? There were several of them. I'm wondering which song.
That's gonna kill me.
We gonna drop. Make
Keep
sure that we
talking.
drop that in the newsletter so that folks can. We'll
Keep
put them
talking
back to
because you
back.
know I'm gonna keep talking because you know I
Yeah,
got to find
right.
it.
He's
I
gonna
have to
find
do
this
it.
record. You can call me crazy, is what Carlton said. Was that the song?
Yes, you can call
Carlton?
me.
Thank
That's it.
you.
Thank you, Carlson. You Can Call Me Crazy is on the Guy album, and If I'm Not Your Lover is on the I'll Be Sure album, and they sound pretty much the same. But and that's what happens sometimes when you develop a sound. And Teddy Riley at this point had definitely developed a sound. His up tempos kind of, had that distinction, like you were saying on that Keith Sweat album, that Don't Stop Your Love.
Yeah,
The it was up
I
tempo,
won
but it was a
her,
mid tempo.
Psst,
I Wanna. They all had that same
baby.
kind of swing to it, and he definitely, again, here's somebody that can do hip hop, but also had them swinging in the clubs. Had R&B singers giving them big hits for the clubs.
You just said something that I also think is really important about um Teddy's production, and I think it is that idea. It's it's a machine, but it's
Hmm.
soulful at the same time. Like dumb songs had the groove, it had the swing, right? So and understanding, and to make that, plain, Teddy does talk about the fact that he was, of course, using the pads on the drum machine, or the sampler to play a lot of the stuff. So you get this kind of human element with all of it,
Hmm.
because it's those. I was listening to several Teddy joints today, and it's them crazy fast hi hats that, and it'll speed
Yeah,
up, and it's you grooving with it, and all of those joints had that. It had a feeling, and you said something as we were preparing for this show. It's like you couldn't not dance to the shit.
absolutely. You absolutely had to move. And So okay, so we're talking about, so hip hop, we're talking about, as far as BPMs, we're talking about your 88s up to about 90, 91, 92 BPMs. Teddy Riley comes along and
Hmm.
he takes it up from from the 95s up to at least 110
Yep.
BPMs. And what you see is this new form of dancing that, and it's not even a new form of dancing, but the dancers who were really driving the culture had music that
Yes.
they could really get down to. It made us, let me tell you something. We were so energetic when we were growing up, J Ray, because you had to have coordination and energy in order to do the Running Man and the Roger Rabbit to these kinds of songs, because you had to keep up the baseball bat, you had to be able to do all the uptown, I mean the rooftop,
Hmm.
the bat, all of those types of dances. And so we had um so then you would start to see the forming of these crews,
Yep.
the dance crews in New York. And the my favorite guy video of all times is definitely Groove Me,
Yeah, it's a jam.
because Groove Me, it's a jam, but it has elements. If you listen to the remixes, the breakdowns have elements of go-go in it,
Yes.
because Teddy is from Virginia, and so of course he has the go-go influence there. But in that video, you see dance crews. You see the guys wearing the matching outfits, the girls wearing the matching outfits, and being a part, front and center of that video. And Teddy, I think the music, the New Jack Swing music, started, or at least gave new energy and new life to the dance culture that was forming in hip hop, the forming of dance crews, the incorporating of them in videos,
Yeah.
because shortly after that, you start seeing people that you recognize in all the videos. You start seeing your Big Leses
Hmm.
and your Josie Harrises and your Lorianne Gibsons. You start seeing them because dance is a major part of yes, it just got paid video.
Hmm.
That has becomes a major part of these of the culture, because the tempo is being driven, is being taken up. And
Hmm.
so it's no more just standing against the wall, body rolling like what Keith Sweat was doing.
Yeah.
At some point, Keith Sweat had to hit the Running Man himself.
Absolutely. Man, I never thought about the importance of the way this music did encourage us to move dancing, in terms of there were so many coordinated new dances that were emerging
Mm-hmm.
during this period of time, and you are absolutely right. um, it gave folks something to really get them heart to really get the heart pumping. And so this music, it was, and so that's unifying too. I remember being a kid going to house parties, and you're doing the Running Man, you're doing the Cabbage Patch, you're doing all of these things. All of the songs essentially were New Jack Swing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They all had a little, it was pushed up a little bit, and you had to dance to these joints. And that's when you had all the rappers dancing. So Big Daddy Kane, who of course worked with Teddy Riley, was dancing. Big Daddy, let me remind y'all, Big Daddy Kane was doing full out choreography, not a game. Heavy D, full out choreography. And then Heavy didn't even stop dancing. Like, even after it became not popular, Heavy D kept dancing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
New Jack Swing and the music that was being produced during this period of time made that possible. It was a special, special moment. And Teddy was really the king of that sound. And and then he talked about in the Rex and Effect joint what all the people he was working with. Who are all of these names, Sir Dave? We're gonna run this
He
down.
said, I got Keith Sweat, Heavy D, Today, Mo D, B Shore, and my man Bobby
Bobby Brown.
Brown. I got Xander Man, Redhead, Boy George, James Zed. I'm forgetting somebody. Something,
Who?
and my homeboys guy.
God.
And I got to get down. Listen, Teddy. So here's the thing. He speaking about his homeboys guy. In order for Teddy to even be able to work with these people, he gave some of his best work to his group Guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Guy was okay. First of all, let's talk about the mystery of the the member that was on the album cover,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah. Who got pushed out?
and that he disappeared, and then all of a sudden we had the Hall brothers,
Right.
and so that was always funny to me. But he introduced us to Aaron Hall, and Aaron Hall is part of the lineage of singers like Charlie Wilson from the Gap Band. He immediately got started being compared to Charlie Wilson of the Gap
Mm-hmm.
Band. And so we had major dance records, but we had major ballads,
Oh
power
yeah.
ballads that came out of that
Let's chill.
out of Teddy. Let's Chill, Piece of My Love. And they weren't like your sappy ballads. These are
Right.
like take them drawers off, and we're gonna do this to the early
Right.
morning ballads.
Oh my God. So a couple
And
of
Timmy
things.
Gatlin was his name. The
Yes.
missing member was Timmy Gatlin.
Yeah. So there's a whole interesting history, by the way. If you go back to that Red Bull Academy, he gives glimpses into, of course, why that happens. Of course, dealing with previous management, all of that stuff. You know. But those ballads. So it's a special kind of talent to be able to, of course, make us dance. Not only am I going to make you dance, I'm also going to slow you. I'm going to help you get laid. Like that's a special, because there are the good producers can do both, and quite frankly, there are few and far between, right? Of producers that could do both things well. And Teddy was one of those folks that didn't have the problem getting you on the dance floor and also allowing it to flip so that you like, okay, now you got the person that you dance with. Now we're going to help you seal the deal, right? You know what I'm saying? And give you these ballads.
Yes.
Wait, so let me see. Edgar said, "I'm going to talk about the Piece of My Love urban legend." I don't know about this urban legend, so
you don't know about the urban legend?
I do not. School me.
So allegedly, and I think, and there is if I'm thinking if it's the same urban legend he's talking about, but there is a part in the song where people think that Aaron Hall says "dumb bitch" in the song. You never
really?
heard about that?
I've never heard about this urban legend.
And I've listened to it, and I promise you, he is saying "dumb bitch," which is hilarious considering this is a slow song and you're trying to win the young lady over. You're trying to woo her, but you're gonna call her a dumb bitch at the same time.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. If you listen, you can have my Piece of My Love, and if you go online and you look up lyrics, so there's a part that says you can have my Piece of My Love, and in parentheses it says "done B," and I'm like, no, he's not saying "done B."
That doesn't make sense
at all. At all.
I would have Aaron Hall ever talked about these lyrics, because I'm sure Aaron wrote the lyrics to that song.
I don't think Aaron Hall is shy or ashamed about saying something like "dumb bitch," because based on the things that I've seen him talk about his personal prowess and whatnot, he's lucky. He's lucky. That's all
he came along at the right time. He came along at the right time. And Kipper is like, I really don't think so. Sonically, there's a bunch of stuff right there. So fascinating. I don't know.
It's a debate.
I'm gonna now go back and listen to Piece of My Love.
I heard it. I was like, I pulled it back on the vinyl. I was like, wait a minute, is he saying it? And I pulled it back and I slowed it down. I'm like, yeah. To me, it sounds like he's saying "dumb bitch." I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, that's what makes it an urban legend. Exactly, Dr. Ed. Exactly.
So, can we talk about Teddy Riley's impossible mission that paid off for him and us tremendously? And that is picking up the production duties for Michael Jackson after Quincy Jones.
Whew, imagine. That's a heavy lift because Quincy Jones has given Michael Jackson, well, Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones have put together a body of work, two bodies of work that live on for eternity. But Teddy was that bridge for
Yeah.
Michael and this new sound, and it worked to perfection. Like I believe this is one of your favorite Michael Jackson albums,
It
correct?
is. Dangerous is actually my second favorite Michael Jackson album. So, which is huge, right? And
Mm-hmm.
no, Thriller is not my first favorite Michael Jackson album. Um, but Dangerous, when it was released, was so perfect for that moment.
Yes.
Um, Michael needed something that spoke to the new generation but was still quintessential Michael Jackson. And when Black and White was released, of course, we had the whole fanfare of the video. So I wasn't sure what the album was going to give. Baby, when Jam smacked out the gate, and you're like, oh, this is what we're doing, Michael? And then the In the Closet, the it goes on. Remember the time. The album went so hard. And it was the perfect culmination, I think, of all that sheen that you talked about earlier, where
Mm-hmm.
Teddy was like, that album, I think, encapsulated the best of the era of the New Jack Swing era. Like it did all of the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And gave us a magnificent record.
Let's not gloss over two records, In the Closet
Mm-hmm.
and Remember the Time.
Mm-hmm.
I think In the Closet
Shame.
gave Michael a bed, a huge bed of sexiness to play with,
Mm-hmm.
allowing him to do the allowing him to do the video with a supermodel.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's very this is the first time we've seen Michael in these very intimate
Mm-hmm.
but not not teen heartthrob kinds of interactions in videos, but very sexually heightened videos with lots of grinding, with lots of pelvic thrusting
Mm-hmm.
on somebody else. Now
Yeah.
we've seen Michael's pelvis thrusting, you know,
My
by
God.
himself a zillion times,
The whole ending
but
of
now
Black
he's
and White.
thrusting on a woman, and that was kind of new to us. That was kind of
It
like,
was.
oh, it was like Michael
I didn't
think
know
we were like
Michael did
Michael think
those
he's
things.
grown. Michael thinks he's grown, and then there was a you know, there was that, and then the magnitude of Remember the Time, the television event,
Mm-hmm.
the choreography, the guest stars in the video, Eddie Murphy, Iman, Magic Johnson. I mean,
The eternal
crazy.
blackness, the blackness of Remember the Time.
But and speak, we cannot not talk about the breakdown. Teddy Riley breakdowns are things of legend,
Uh,
but the breakdown in Remember the Time, all of us when we hear the Michael Jackson building up to the on the phone at the door at the bar. Oh, boom, clap, clap, boom, clap, boom, boom. Then everybody automatically, you know, goes into the
yes.
routine that we think we all know. But there is just something about when a producer can bring that out of an artist,
Yeah.
can cause us to look at an artist a different way, you know, allow that artist to explore their sexuality, which is something that they never did before. You really have to, you know, I don't know how much credit we can give Teddy for that, but Teddy certainly provided the backdrop for all of that to happen. That was the first time we had a Michael do a on screen kiss with Iman. Remember?
Oh, that's right. You are absolute. That was.
It was a little
Wow. That was a
awkward.
moment.
It
It
was
was totally awkward.
a very awkward kiss, but it still happened, and it emboldened Michael to kiss some more
They
down
were
the
all
line with his
awkward though.
Ryan.
Remember that? I like Michael is the king of the awkward kiss. King of pop, yes. Also king of the awkward kiss.
King of the awkward kiss. But like we were saying earlier, Frank Ocean learned from this. Michael Jackson took that Teddy Riley song with a broken leg, sat there on a golden throne on national television, and gave us an 8 count from a chair and gave us arm choreography. It can be done. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to leave
Yo,
that alone.
this so Teddy, of course, has an interesting time because he breaks away from Guy. All of that was really due to management. He's gone on record in talking about his previous manager, Gene Griffin, was his name, and there was a lot there. We're not even gonna get into that because we really just wanted to get into the music. But it's a really heartbreaking story. I do want to mention this. Um, Teddy did not get all his publishing from My Prerogative because his manager took he's like, no, like My Prerogative, which was Bobby Brown's biggest record, was stolen from Teddy Riley, the man who produced that song.
Mm.
Crazy. Aaron Hall wrote the lyrics, Teddy Riley's producing, and Teddy has talked about like, listen, that song was stolen from me. That's like, so that manager, so as Guy transitioned, he gets away from that manager. Teddy is of course producing all of these amazing records, but then we move into the Blackstreet era, which Blackstreet, and I mean, we're not talking about Rex. Can we talk about Summer Jams really quick? Because
Oh,
Rump
absolutely.
Shaker,
Whew.
huge Summer Jam.
Monster, a monster.
And Teddy, so that was also the interesting thing about Teddy Riley. So there would be no Guy if Teddy didn't join the group. So Aaron Hall apparently said, if you're not joining the group, I'm going solo. I'll be in the group if you in the group, but if you're not in the group, I'm going solo. So Teddy, of course, joins Guy and now officially becomes a member of a group for the first time. So there's Guy. He's basically the third member of Rex in Effect because he's in every song.
Totally. He took the rhymes that Pharrell
Yes.
wrote his rap from Rump Shaker and gave us an eternal summer jam like Teddy, ready with the one
One,
two
two.
checker. Like
Rex is in effects, is in effects, but I'm the wrecker of the track. Right.
who doesn't know? And shout out to Teddy Riley for having the gumption and the competence to do that, because a
Mhm.
lot of producers, you really can't think about it. Maybe Diddy, but Diddy came way
Way
after
after.
that,
Right.
had the gumption to come from behind the board and to get on the mic. But Teddy Riley did it. I don't know if he did it out of necessity or what, but that is definitely something when we think about super producers who are able to have the competency to get on the mic as well. Teddy definitely was that. He sang a little bit as
Mm-hmm.
well. You can
Yeah.
hear him singing a little bit, but definitely the rapping. And so, in order for him to be a part of Blackstreet,
Mm-hmm.
which is clearly vocalist driven,
Yes.
he fit right in. I mean, we knew that he was, Teddy's gonna be there with his guitar
Baby, he got that guitar.
and
He got that vocoder in.
the vocoder in, and he's gonna do his thing. But he gave us a solid ass R&B group, a
Man.
solid R&B group that gave us a soloist, that gave
Yeah.
us Dave Hollister. I mean, count. What else can we say about Blackstreet? Even though I'm sure
Oh,
Blackstreet has their own legend and their
yeah.
stories of pain and glory and all that.
Absolutely. As all of them do. But moving into this other group, I think my two quintessential Blackstreet songs are Before I Let You Go. My God. Oh
Hmm.
my God. That's such a great tune. Um No Diggity is definitely a quintessential Blackstreet tune. I do want to talk about that song for a second, but I like the boyfriend girlfriend song with Janet Jackson. That's a
And
groovy.
Eve.
And Eve, that song to me is a bop. Um, and it was a different sort of song for all of them.
Absolutely. And you know what? You know who we almost forgot to mention?
Who?
Teddy and Blackstreet also gave Queen Pen, a pretty much
Yes.
unknown rapper out of Brooklyn, a monster hit. Because a party ain't a party
Till it's ran
if
on
we
through.
so this ran all through, and Teddy's on there rhyming as well. He gave her a couple other records too where he rapped on as well. But think about it, like to this day, Queen Pen can go somewhere and perform "A Party's Not a Party" and get a little change in her pocket
And the verse
because of
from No
that one.
Diggity and all of that.
And you know, and another thing about No Diggity, I know we're jumping all over the place, but No Diggity, we see a pairing of um Teddy Riley and Dr. Dre.
That is exactly where I wanted to go with that, because you get that West Coast, because that at that time was the biggest sound, right? So you get
Hmm.
Teddy and a Dre and it's like mashup, and it's slowed way down compared to what Teddy had been doing before.
Yes. So where are we now? We're like in the mid 2000s. No, that's still the 90s,
90s. Mm-hmm.
late 90s, and Teddy Riley is still a force,
Yeah.
um, and still giving us memories and giving us music to still jam to years later. Now,
Yeah.
here's one thing I have a question for you and the listeners. If you're all the listeners, if you're in the chat, hop in with your opinion about this. How did y'all really feel about the Teddy Riley versus Babyface versus? Was it equally yoked? Was it? I think technically it didn't come off the way it really could have because it was the early
It was early
stages
stages.
of verses and people were still trying to were figuring out
Mm.
sound and how to make this happen. But in my opinion, I thought it was an excellent opportunity for us to hear all their hits.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, I did not, after the first one went so poorly, I didn't revisit it. That I think that verses came before we started this show.
Yes.
Um and so I didn't go back, and because of course they came back and was doing the thing. Um
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. I think Teddy's instincts signaled where verses went, right? So Teddy's instincts of, I want to put a band in a room and we are going to perform the songs,
Mm-hmm.
signaled where verses ultimately went to. And I think that should be celebrated. And I think that's just the way Teddy's mind works, right? Oh, if we're going to do
Right.
this, I'm just going to put, now meanwhile it was the middle of COVID and people are like, whatever. So I think it was that poorly executed version sucked but made way for the future. So I didn't go back
Mm.
and watch it. I think had it gone well, it would have been, for the culture would have benefited so much, because those two brothers right there are swimming in hits, and we would have gotten an amazing show. But unfortunately, it got tainted by a technical setup that
Gremlins.
just,
Yeah.
but child, they should have called me. I remember saying that, I think at the time. I'm like, child, they should have called me because I would have had this together. Like, we don't play that. We don't play that.
J Ray would have had your audio pulled all the way together, had everybody sounding like a mass choir, and just having a good time. But
Wow.
I don't think we could talk enough about Teddy Riley, but I think we've this was overdue.
Yeah.
1988, like I always say, was one of my favorite years for of music, and Guy and Teddy Riley solidified that moment in time with their contributions to the culture. And we just always want to thank these
Yeah.
people and give them their flowers. There was a moment a few years ago where Teddy Riley was everywhere. He was on and he was on the Breakfast Club. People were really starting to wake up to who and what Teddy Riley was and what he was giving. And I still don't think they really cracked the surface of everything that he is, how he changed the way people do things. If we're talking about technically
Yeah.
in the studio,
Yeah.
the equipment,
Mm-hmm.
like people, I don't think were incorporating keyboards into their production until they saw Teddy Riley doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he and the other reason, and I'm glad we're doing this show as well, because there is everybody's career changes, and I think Teddy's career, he went through a difficult time. He went through like a really
Mm,
difficult bankruptcy. His studio burned down. Like there was a lot of stuff that then happened in the 2000s that I think it was 2008 the fire destroyed his recording studio, this place that was a mecca for so many hits coming out of it.
mm,
That's hard. So, and then there's personal stuff. So we've heard about personal drama, with family and stuff like that.
right.
So I don't think we have given enough time to talk about the importance of his work, because for a lot of reasons he's slowed down, but I think the industry just changed around him. You know what I'm saying? And that's unfortunate that this person who gave us so much, the industry kind of changed around and then life started lifing. Um
Mm-hmm.
but I can absolutely see Teddy circling back. You know what I'm saying? Like circling back. And we'll be continuing to talk about the music of Teddy Riley, I think, in the past and the present sense in the future. Because I mean, you just can't, he's still here and he's still got it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see what Teddy is interested in doing now in kind of this new era. Because here's the thing, no shade, we're now back. New Jack Swing is like a thing again. So we're back in a time where I would love to see what Teddy did in this moment with some of the folks who are on the scene right now.
Because a lot of these artists could definitely use Teddy Riley on a keyboard, giving you that gospel organ flutter. That oh
Mhm.
man, I absolutely loved when Teddy Riley would do that on a song, and I miss those kind of flares and those flutters, those things that you knew when somebody, instead of having a producer stamp, like how the producers have, if your Metro don't trust you, I'ma shoot you, that kind of thing. You knew it was a Teddy Riley song because you heard that gospel organ flutter, and I would prefer that. I would prefer to hear that instead, guys.
We would prefer that, y'all. Sir Daniel, thank y'all so much, by the way, for tuning in for our conversation about Teddy Riley. Please let us know what's your favorite Teddy Riley song. You can drop it in the chat now, or if you're listening to
Mm-hmm.
this after the fact, let us know. Sir Daniel, did you have an
Yes.
opportunity, and it's okay if you didn't, I gave you the record, Silk
Mm-hmm.
130, last week, remembers only. Did you have a chance to check out anything?
I absolutely did. I am in love with the I Can't Wait
I knew
rendition.
you would love that remake.
It's upbeat, it's horny, and when I say horns, I'm talking
Right.
about a horn section. It's it's everything. If you're gonna redo something, you got to make it your own, and that was definitely that. I can put that into a set
Mhm.
today.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love the fact. I love the formatting of the album. Radio station skits on the album is not a new thing,
Mm-hmm.
but as somebody who loves, comes from radio, loves radio, I enjoyed that. The Kathy Sledge record,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still kind of warming up to, but I did like it. I love how they can go from ballads
Mm-hmm.
to to swing, and then give you like some straight up hip hop.
Yeah.
So I found that very interesting. I'm still getting into it. I can see it can definitely fit into my rotation
Okay.
of stuff, and I can ride around definitely and with it. And yeah, I totally enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was
I'm
good.
very happy. I was like, oh, I don't know. There's a lot going on with this record. But because there's so many different things, I'm like, there's gonna be stuff on there I'm sure you could find. But
Yeah.
I knew that the I Can't Wait joint with Twyla, I don't know what Twyla's last name is. I don't know what happened to her. I would assume she's from Philly. If anybody knows Twyla that was on the Silk 130 stuff and you're listening to this, maybe I'll just inbox King Britt on Twitter and ask. But I want to know what happened. So yeah, so I wanted to share. Do you have one for me yet? Have you picked one?
I do. I
Okay.
picked an album for you because it's an album that I would sit with, and that it has a lot of meaning for me, because I think it has a narrative of an immigrant coming to this country, especially in New York. Um, it embodies New York in the 80s. This album came out in 1982. So there is funk and there's disco on here. Well, yeah, kind of disco on here that I know that you would enjoy. I'm not certain if you've heard it in its entirety, or I know you've heard it, but
Okay.
not in its entirety. But I've sat with this album for so long, and it's a no skip for me.
Okay.
So I am challenging you to listen to Grace Jones,
Oh, got
Living
it.
My Life.
You know what? I have not heard that record in its entirety. I will be so excited to go and listen to that record. I'm sure I'm going to fuck with it. I'm just cursing away on this episode. It's fine.
Right.
Um, I am excited about that. Oh my god, I can't wait to listen. That'll be my thing this week.
It is, it transports me.
Mhm.
So and I'm hoping that it takes you on that journey as well. But the things that I hear the stories in the background. We get immaculate production from Sly and Robbie. And of course, Grace Jones does what she does in her interpretations of a song and her presentation in the song. There's songs on here that, of course, are classics like "My Jamaican Guy"
Mm-hmm.
that
I know that. I
you
know that one.
undoubtedly know, but it's the seamlessness of the album and how it just goes through. And it's not long. It's not long at all in as far as the amount of songs on the album, but it tells a story. There's definitely a through line that I think you will appreciate. And I know it's been a long time, and like you said, you haven't listened to it in its entirety.
Mm-mm.
So I think you should listen to it in its entirety and give it a try and get into it.
I am excited about that. I love a Sly and Robbie production.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna get into Living My Life by Grace Jones. Thank you so
Living
much
My
for that.
Life,
Yo,
1982.
I'm
So
excited.
yes.
So we'll talk about
So
that next
next
week.
week, absolutely.
Hmm.
Wow.
Listen,
So we are
y'all,
coming to the end of the show,
we are.
and we're very thankful that you have joined us again. Saturday is Record Store Day,
Yes.
so please make sure that you support small businesses, especially if you know of a black record store. Please support them. This is a very important time for these retailers. Record stores, we've had constantly had our friend Jonathan Blanchard, aka JB's Record Lounge. I talk about him nonstop, and I talk about his store nonstop
Mhm.
because it's what, to me, it embodies what it should, what a record store should be. There's a place to relax and sit with things. There's art. There's places, a place where you can listen to things before you buy it, and there's a whole gamut of archives just
Mm.
there on vinyl for you to go through and lose yourself in it. And it's a library of our history as Black people, especially. So definitely JB's Record Lounge, Moods Music
Mhm.
is always, shout out to him here in Atlanta, and DBS sounds out in on the south side. There's plenty of space places here in Atlanta for you to support. But wherever you are listening to this show, please go out and support a record store. Um, we have to support the artists that we love.
Yeah. I love Record Store Day. So yeah, I will be popping out. There are several stores around here that I'll be popping into. I'll get with my brother and we'll go and do some record shopping, which will be super dope.
Yeah.
One other thing before we check out tonight. So Cree Summer is our friend, is a friend of Q Points
Is
now.
a best friend.
We're gonna
Like,
just claim it. That's our
we're
girl.
besties. We're
Right.
besties.
um, but
She retweets us.
right. She retweeted us today and we're really grateful. So April 20th is when Street Fairy was released. And of course, if y'all were here 2 weeks ago, our show was about Cree Summer's Street Fairy. So if you have not listened to that show, make sure that you go back and listen to show 95 because we talk about that album. And that album came out 24 years ago today on April 20th. And so one of the cutest things is on her Twitter. Her
Mm-hmm.
and Lenny Kravitz sing Mean Sleep. They both randomly in a random loud place, but they sound so good in 2023. Just kind of vibing and singing this song. And it's one of the great songs from the Street Fairy record, which is in general a great record. So it's really cool. But she retweeted the fact that we were like, yo, go listen to the show because that's when this album came out today. So it's really good.
Absolutely. And we didn't talk about it being 420 day
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, I guess we're not cool like that. We're really not,
I don't
onto
partake,
the
but
whole
I
of
support people who do partake. I just don't partake.
the wacky tobacco thing, do
Not
your thing.
or the reefer. Remember reefer?
The reefer and reefer madness. Oh, and my favorite, the devil's lettuce.
Not the devil's lettuce. Ooh,
Yes.
somebody real holy came up with that one.
Well, because the thing about reefers and the marijuana was that they warned it heavily against it because the young white people, they didn't want the young white people getting free and loose because they were afraid that if they got free and loose that they would start intermingling with the coloreds,
Absolutely.
especially the young white women intermingling with the colored men's. So they were very afraid of that, and that's why weed was outlawed, or part of the reason. But somebody was mad because they couldn't make money off of it. But
Right.
shout out to everybody who is making money off of it legally now. Free all the people that didn't, that got arrested and put in prison for doing the same thing that the white kids are doing now and getting and making thousands of dollars off of it. Whatever you do out there, just take care of yourselves.
Absolutely. So y'all support. You can support us like we said earlier at the top of the show. Subscribe to the show if you are listening, and if you made it to this point. Thank you so much for making it to this point. But you can support us by sharing the show with other music fans. So make sure that you subscribe wherever you are listening or wherever you are watching. Also, you can visit our website and you can subscribe there and become a Q Points insider. And you can also buy merch from the store at store.qpoints.com. And we love y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. J Ray, what do I always say every week in this life? You have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is J Ray, y'all.
This has been Q Points Podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. We'll see you on the next go round.
Peace, y'all.